Hey everyone, Richard Robbins here. Well, we got the numbers for Vancouver, so let's have a look at what's going on. Now, I wish I could bring you better news, but your market is very challenged right now. But what I'm also going to do at the end is I'm going to show you what's going on right across Canada in terms of months of inventory. So at least you have, some perspective as to what's happening right across the country. So here's what I've done to start. I've given you the last 3 months, the last 90 days. You can see here, we got December, this is 2018 obviously, and then January and February. So in terms of sales, if you look in December, we did almost 1,100, and then, we were up a little bit in January, 2.9% to 1,103. But the good news is we jumped 34.5% in terms of the number of sales to almost 1,500 in February. Now, active listings, okay? Because again, what's going to happen is based on how much inventory and how many sales is going to give us our months of inventory, which determines the strength or weakness of a market. So you can see you had 10,000 listings at the end of December. We had almost 11,000, up 5% at the end of January. And you can see here 11,600, up by another 7.2%. Now here's the good news. If our sales went up by 34%, our listings only up by 7.2%, that means our months of inventory dropped, you see? So if we go back and look, December we were 9.6 months of inventory. 9.8 went up a little bit in January, but look, we came down by 2 months because your inventory didn't go up as fast as your sales went up. So that is the good news. In terms of your benchmark price, you can see we're $1 million, again, right around $1 million, down by a point, and then you can see, right around $1 million again. So it's pretty well remaining the same. But here's the last 5 years in terms of sales, because again, yes, February was better than January. Yes, our months of inventory went down, but saying that, it's still much slower than it was many previous years. So if we take a look at this, 2015, this is for February for the last 5 years, we did just over 3,000 sales. Then we up to almost 4,180, went up by 36%. Well, then what started to happen, we started to drop, right? Obviously we had the foreign buyer tax went in. We've seen a number of rate increases, right? Vacancy tax, stress testing. We can go on and on about everything that's happened. Our sales went down by 41%, down by another 9%, and down by 33%. So when I look at this, I say, no matter how we try to spin this, okay, we're down substantially over where we were for the last 5 years. Now, active listings, look at this. We are at almost 12,000, went down substantially because your sales were starting to get stronger, stayed around the same, wasn't a lot right here, but right now we're up to 11,000, almost 600, which is 48% increase, okay, over the year before. So you can see sales are down, active listings are up, going to give you more months of inventory. Here's your months of inventory. So 2015, we're 3.9, and this here is a very strong market. This is a very good market. 4 to 6 months of inventory is balanced. Above 6 buyers, below 4 is going to be a seller's market. Crazy strong market here. Great market here, great market here, moved into a full buyer's market right here. Benchmark prices, you can see what's going on. 2015, you were 650, you went up by 22% to 796, okay, up by 14% to 907. We're still going up because remember, balanced market is 4 to 6. So you can see prices are still rising over $1 million. And of course, from a year ago, we're down about 6.1% February over February. So as we continue to move forward, here's a breakdown of your sales. Of the sales that took place, 448 was detached, 759 condo apartments, and 277 townhouses. Obviously, what's happening, detached, very expensive. A lot of people can't afford these. Your first-time buyer, maybe your baby boomers are selling and moving to condos, plus it's just more affordable right here. Months of inventory, look at this. Detached, you have 11.8 months of inventory. And again, go to West Van as an example where you have actually the highest prices in all of Canada. We're sitting in West Van, I think we're around 16, 17. That's a guess, but we're around that in terms of months of inventory. The more expensive, the more months of inventory you're going to have. The less expensive, the lower months of inventory you're going to have in detached. Apartment, you got 5.9. So this one's interesting right here. Remember, 4 to 6 balance, right? Which means we're sitting right at 6. So we're right on the edge of moving from a balanced market in apartments to more into a buyer's market. Again, certain buildings would have more months of inventory, which you can figure out if you work in a certain building. And if you've got 8 months in one building, you know that you're more into a buyer's market. Your prices are probably going to be softening a little bit. So right now, you're sort of sitting very close to a buyer's market, but still balanced. In townhouse, we're sitting at 6.7. Here's your prices, your benchmark prices of different property types. Detached, 1.4. Your apartments are $660,000, townhouses $789,000. So of course, this is why a lot of people are buying these, relatively inexpensive. Plus, let's think about Vancouver. There's more building vertically than there is horizontally because of space, right? This here, I did something different this time. This is the Greater Vancouver opposed to Fraser Valley. And I just thought it would be cool to see the difference. This is months of inventory. So you can see Vancouver, we're sitting with 11.8 months of inventory in detached. If you look at the Fraser Valley, you got 6.5. Apartments, 5.9 in Vancouver, 4.6. Okay, townhouses, 6.7 Vancouver, Fraser Valley, 4.5. So if you're looking at this, I thought it was interesting just to see what's going on because Fraser Valley is a relatively large market, obviously. But you can see, generally speaking, their market is substantially stronger than what's going on in Vancouver. Now, this is across Canada. So what I want to do now is give you a comparison because it's one thing to know what's going on in your market, but it's nothing to understand what's going on across Canada. So if you look at months of inventory, now you're going, Rich, I'm so sick of you talking about months of inventory, but months of inventory is a determining factor in your marketplace. That's going to determine your prices going up, prices going down, the strength of your market. Right here, we can see Vancouver, you're the big winner. How cool is that? Not very cool, right? You got 7.8 on average. Edmonton is 7.5. Calgary is 6. Toronto is 2.6. Okay, obviously a very good market. When I was recording this, it wasn't available in Ottawa. Montreal is 5.1. However, you're also the winner in prices. You're the most expensive in Canada. Edmonton's 354, Calgary's 461, Toronto's 780. Ottawa's 466. And just so you know, Ottawa market would be right around the 2.6, probably stronger actually than Toronto, probably around 2. And then, of course, we've got Montreal. It wasn't available for the month of February when I'm recording this. So anyway, that gives you an idea what is going on. So what do I think is going to happen? Well, it's going to take a while for us to get used to a new normal. Now, I do think your months of inventory is going to continue to drop in March, April, May, and June, I believe. But it's not probably going to go to a seller's market or a balanced market. You're probably, generally speaking, going to stay more into a buyer's market. But again, everybody has to get used to the new norm. So in other words, with all the taxes they put in place, you look at the interest rate increases, the stress testing, it takes a while for everything to balance out for us to sort of get used to it. And then everybody just goes back to what they're doing before, which is buying real estate, selling real estate, which is good for you because that's what you need to be doing every day. But one thing you're going to have to be very conscious of right now is the pricing of your listings. Now, a lot of people say, well, when the market's changing like this, should I be focused on buyers or should I be focused on sellers? You should still be focused on sellers. And the reason you should be focused on sellers is because when you have inventory, everybody is working for you. Other agents are showing your properties, right? You'd be having dinner at home at night. However, you want to make sure that they're motivated to sell because there's some listings that should not be on the market. Because if you overprice a listing in this marketplace, it's not going to sell because price is everything. Condition is important, no question. Access to the property is important. But at the end of the day, price will cause anything to sell. So somebody really has to sell, then they're going to have to be relatively aggressive with their price. And think about this. If prices are falling, which they are weakening right now in your market, there's no question about that. If prices are falling, what happens is prices are moving this way. They're not going up, they're going down, which means if we make a mistake here in price, right? Like let's say we price it wrong right here. By the time we correct it, is that house worth more or less or the same? It's worth less, isn't it? So by the time we correct it, we've got to make a pretty substantial correction. So if we don't get it priced right off the bat, then chances are we're going to get less for the home than we would have if we had priced it right when we first took the listing. So give a lot of thought to that. And you're going to have to do a little bit of work. Sometimes you're going to have to take sellers out and show them their competition. So in their mind, they understand what is going on. And then they start to what I call trip over the truth. They see the new reality. If somebody doesn't have to sell and they want to get too much for their home, they should not be in the market. And that listing will cost you time and it will cost you money. So you might have to work a little bit harder, which is okay, but what you want to do is make sure you're working with motivated sellers. And don't get caught up in taking listings where there's lack of motivation and they're overpriced, because that turns into an expired listing and costs you, as I said, time and money. At the end of the day, everybody, remember, it's a beautiful life. Make it count.